And welcome back. Unless you're new here, and then just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal, and we are going to talk about Pumpkinhead. Now, Pumpkinhead, this is the Scream Factory Collector's Edition. Pumpkinhead was released in 1988, and it stars Lance Henriksen, Jeff East, and John D'Aquino. It was directed by Stan Winston, and it was written by Ed Justin, Mark Patrick Carducci, and Stan Winston. So yes. Now, this movie opens in 1959, and we see Ed Harley as a little boy, and we witness his dad, who seems to be like securing the farm, and they all seem very scared. They're telling him to get into bed. A guy comes banging at the door. He's obviously being chased by something. So he comes banging at the door, begging them to let him in, begging him for help. They refuse. The father's like, get away from the door. I didn't kill that girl. Well, I don't know nothing about that, but you got to get away from us. And, so the guy is gotten by the Appalachian god of vengeance called Pumpkinhead. Now, they never say that it's Appalachia, but, it certainly seems to be, so we'll just assume that's what it is, unless they did and I didn't hear it. But we then sort of fast forward to the present, where we see Ed is now a single father. He's got a little boy, probably about 8-9 years old, named Billy. And the scenes between them are phenomenal, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So he runs a little country general store in the area. So we see them interacting, which was very sweet. We see them go down to the general store where Ed conducts business, and then we see our pretty people in peril arrive. This is Chris and Joel, Kim and Tracy, Steve and Maggie. Now they are like, I guess, dirt bike enthusiasts going to a dirt bike rally. We see Ed. A little pivotal thing in the movie is that Billy made him a little necklace. It looks like a little Wicker Man necklace, and he's wearing that. So that sort of comes up later in the movie. So we see the guys show up. Immediately you can tell that most of them are pretty decent. Most of them are a pretty decent group of people, except for Joel, who you can tell is the absolute, complete, and total asshole of the bunch. He is everything that you hate in that kind of person. So, they're dicking around, and they decide, to take the bikes out. Joel and his brother, Steve, they decide to take the bikes out, and they're messing around with the bikes and riding them and stuff like that, when Ed has to run back to his house to pick up some feed for this guy that he was supposed to have some feed waiting for. Now, while he's gone, the dog gets loose and starts chasing the guys on the bike when they come up over a hill. And granted, it was an accident, that is true, but they kill Billy, not instantly, but he is extremely hurt. And Joel and his girlfriend, they run off, jump in the car, run off, panicking. The others wait around. Who is it? Steve. Steve waits with the baby, for the guy to get back. Now, when Chris and them arrived back at the cabin, like, where the hell did Joel go? He actually, to call for help and stuff like that. Because remember, this was before everybody had a cell phone sticking out the side of their heads. So there was no mobiles or anything like that. So they go back to the cabin because the dude's gone. He had went back home. When they get there, though, Joel is like totally psychotic. He, no, I've been drinking. They'll put me away. So he actually locks Chris and his girlfriend in the closet, rips the phone out the wall, won't let them leave, won't let them call, leaving Joel alone back to, I wouldn't want to be in that position. So Ed shows back up, sees that the kid isn't in the store, goes out there and finds his body. And Joel tells him, that he's sorry it was an accident, hands him his glasses, the boy's glasses. And Ed definitely gives him a look, that look. So Joel refuses to let the others leave. Ed goes to the Wallace farm and delivers that feed with his son's body in the truck. Now, we had met the kids of that, including a boy called Bunt. As in bunt cake? I don't know. But his name is Bunt. And so we had seen him as sort of, when we met them at the general store. So Ed shows up, and when the guy tries to pay, he's like, no. I want you to tell me where this old lady is, she's rumored to have magic, magic. He's like, oh, no, I can't help you there, man. I'm not going to help you with that. So Bunt, though, Ed offers him money, and Bunt is like, So Bunt sneaks out the back and goes up the road and meets him and is like, I'll tell you where she is. And he's like, no, you'll show me where she is. So Bunt takes him most of the way up there and then said, this is as far as I go. And Ed goes on up there, and we meet Haggis. Now, he goes in there expecting her to perform mountain magic and revive his son. That was his intention, was to revive his son, because he is like beyond devastated. When the boy dies in his arms later at the house when he's trying to clean him up, that was I was crying at that point. I'm not ashamed. So he wants her to revive him, and she tells him real quick that, reanimating the dead, bringing the dead back to life is, resurrection is beyond her powers, and he's like, but he wants something. She's like, well, there's only one thing that can be done. There's only one thing I can help you with, and it comes at a really nasty price, So he does, though. He wants it. He wants it. He wants them dead. So she tells him, about the ritual, tells him where he has to go and dig up this body and bring to her. She performs the ritual and, with blood magic and stuff like that, and it comes alive and rises, and she tells him to go on back home and bury his son, because, what's done is done and it can't be stopped. Now, the first kill we see is Steve, which that actually kind of sucked, because Steve was the one who stayed with the boy. Steve was nice, and so is Chris, and so is the three girls are, they're nice too. Joel's girlfriend is obviously the opposite of pussy whipped, whatever that is, but she's obviously under his power. But we see the Steve kill, and this is at like the first time where we kind of get the idea that Pumpkinhead and Ed are spiritually, in some way, they are connected, because whenever Pumpkinhead kills, Ed sees it, and Ed feels it, like they are connected. So Joel and Chris, they go out, they find his bloody bandana. Maggie is freaking out. Maggie runs out the front door, and Steve's body falls in front of her. And so, we know where he's at. And we get the Maggie kill. Ed goes, it's only took 2 kills for him to realize that this isn't quite turning out the way that he wanted it. So, as far as his feelings, so he goes back to Haggis to try to stop it. He regrets it, but it's too late. He then vows that he will stop Pumpkinhead. And she's like, well, you go do that then. We see Kim get killed. I believe that was Joel's girlfriend. Joel and Tracy and Chris now run. Of course, just like in 1954, nowhere that they stop will help them. Nobody will, give them any information. Just get away, which I kind of agree with that. So no help will help them. One guy does come out, though, with a shotgun and encourages them to trot on, But he does take the time to tell them that nobody can help them, that they are marked, which is true. So it was soon after that we seen Ed attempt his first time, trying to kill Pumpkinhead. His first attempt to trying to kill Pumpkinhead. It doesn't go over well, and we get to see Pumpkinhead kill Joel, which that was very satisfying, because Joel is actually the one who ran over the boy and was the first one to haul ass. So I think that, I really wish that Pumpkinhead was a little more selective. You know what I mean? But then again, when we're playing around with dark rituals, we always kind of want to change the rules a little bit. It's like, well, I want it, but the rules aren't exactly perfect, because I would want Joel dead, and maybe his girlfriend, because they're the ones who ran. They're the ones who held the other 2 hostage. There are the other 3 hostage. So it's like, don't I get a choice in who you mark? You know what I mean? So, but anyway, that's playing with dark rituals, isn't it? So, it kills Joel. We see Tracy and Chris, they're the only ones that left. They take off. They end up at the Wallace farm. Of course, they won't let them in. And they tell them about Pumpkinhead. They won't help, or anything. So, Bunt, always sticking his nose and shit, he again sneaks out the back, to help them. He's going to help them. He takes them, and when they ask him why, he says pretty much the truth, and I believe him. And that is, it's all very fascinating to him, and he wants to know if this is real, if the legend is real. He wants to see Pumpkinhead, which, curiosity killed the cat, or the little Appalachian boy in this, sense. But yeah, so his curiosity is the reason that he's helping them. He's certainly not helping them out of the kindness of his heart, and he makes that clear. So he takes them to these burnt ruins of a church, mistakenly, mythologically, thinking that that's going to weaken him or stop Pumpkinhead or something like that. So they get to this ruined, burnt down church, and he tells them about the demon. And he tells them what the demon is for, what the legends are, when a man's been wronged, or a woman, I suppose. When a person has been wronged, they can turn, if they know the magic, they can turn and call this demon, a vengeance demon, who will then take care of those that hurt that person, provided it was something bad enough to warrant it. So it left me kind of thinking, well, if the neighbor just pissed me off because his dog shit in my yard, can I have Pumpkinhead rip his head off? Or would the ritual not work because the underworld gods or whatever would kind of go, come on. You know what I mean? Come on. Just go key the motherfucker's car or something. I'm not going to rip his head off. You're asking, you know what I'm saying? You're asking for a little too much. So I'm not really sure where the line is, but I do think that at least we can assume that those two things are somewhere near that won't do it and will do it. So Bunt tells them that it has to be something really bad, and it clicks in Tracy's head, which I don't know why it hadn't clicked already. But it clicks in Tracy's head. She's like, well, we did hit a little boy at the grocery store. Like she stole bubble gum or something. I don't know exactly what that was supposed to be. She was a little relaxed about the action. And he's like, you mean Billy Harley? And she's like, yeah. Why? Is he dead or something? Is he like dead? It's like, oh, well, yeah. I think we know the answer to this puzzle is basically what Bunt tells her. He's like, I see now. You killed Ed Hurley's son, and so you're fucked. Then Pumpkinhead shows up. They take off. So, okay. Ed shows up at the Wallaces, wanting them to help him stop Pumpkinhead. And they refuse him as well. So they wouldn't help the victims and they wouldn't help the perpetrator. It's like, no. I don't care which side of this dark ritual you're on. We're not getting involved in any way. So, Ed takes off. They refuse to help him too. Now, they asked, Tracy and Chris had asked him, do you know, like the bottom of this mountain, like where people park their cars and stuff? Can you show us from where we are? Can you take us there? So he takes them there. But Pumpkinhead's already gotten there, and he's basically sitting there with a big shit-eating grin on his face, going, is this what you're looking for? These destroyed, overturned, ripped up cars? And Chris thinks he's slick. So he jumps on the dirt bike, because, all the cars are fucked up. He jumps on the dirt bike and he cranks it up, and it sort of just spins, and literally Pumpkinhead has a fuck you look on his face, because he's standing there looking at him with this shit-eating grin, holding the chain. Like, where are you going now? Wrong answer. So, they try to take off. Well, he throws Chris and the bike. And I kind of thought maybe Chris was dead, but he was still moaning and shit. So Bunt and Tracy get into Ed's truck, because Ed pulls up. They get into his truck, and Ed takes him back. They take him back to his farm, where he informs them that he's going to try to protect them. He's going to try to stop them. And he does. He really does make a sincere attempt at trying to help them. But it doesn't work out very well, because Pumpkinhead is like, we're a lot closer than you think we are. So when he says that we're going to help you, his eyes like turn the same color as Pumpkinhead's, and then they kind of show you, yes, I was distracted again, because as usual, somebody is walking by my house in the middle of the night. I live out in the middle of bumfucked Egypt. It's like, what is it? I don't know. It's like, I only film a couple of times a week, and you can bet your ass when I start filming, everybody's like trading crack or whatever they're doing. I don't know. I've got to move. But, so, we really see how they're connected, right? Because Pumpkinhead starts to resemble Ed in the face. And Ed gets Pumpkinhead's eyes, and there we go. So Pumpkinhead's trying to kill them all. She tries to set him on fire with a flamethrower, which Ed was going to use. But when Ed came out of the barn, he tripped and fell on a pitchfork, which hurt Pumpkinhead and made Pumpkinhead drop bunt. And that's how sort of like everyone, including Ed, everyone at the same time was like, I think we know the secret here. It like all clicked on them except for Chris, who's laying there half dead. He probably don't know anything's fucking going on. It all clicks in their head that there is a connection here. Now, as soon as that happened, Ed ran to his truck and got in there and shot himself in the head. Tried to top himself. Now, this knocked Pumpkinhead down. But it didn't kill him. So, right. So when he comes out, like my notes was talking to me. Yes, that's correct. So he gets out of the truck and he sees it didn't work. And so he falls on the ground though. He's about gone, but not quite. And he literally signals to Tracy to pick up the gun and finish me off, which she does. She picks up the gun and finishes him off. And so you have Tracy and Chris, who is very badly injured, but he does survive. And Bunt, his curiosity nearly got him killed. Because when Ed shot himself in that truck, he had Bunt upside down like a rag doll playing with him. So, so those are the three that survived. And then in the outro, we see Haggis burying the body. And it couldn't have been Pumpkinhead because Pumpkinhead poof in a flame of fire. So now we kind of see how this all works. And that's when it zooms in on the body and you see Billy's little Wicker Man necklace. So you know that that's Ed Harley's body. And he will be the next Pumpkinhead. And that was the end of the movie. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. It says so right there on my notes. So, I love this movie for many reasons. The nostalgia, stuff like that. It's one of the best vengeance horror. And it does hold a distinction with me. And that is that, vengeance horror is my third favorite subgenre of horror. I have a huge vengeance collection. Probably vengeance movies you've never heard of. But in all of them, no matter how horrible they are, what happened to Jodie Foster in The Brave One, what happened to Charles Bronson in Death Wish, what happened to the girl in I Spit on Your Grave 2, which is my favorite of the whole I Spit on Your Grave series. And I'm not including the last one that was ever made because that doesn't exist in my world. But Death Sentence, what happened to Kevin Bacon in Death Sentence. Of all of the vengeance movies and all of the triggers, all of the things that turn these people into angels of vengeance, this is the only one that makes me cry. Now, I'm not saying that it's not horrible, that I didn't feel terrible and mortified at the murder in The Brave One, or Death Wish, or Death Sentence, and what happened to these people. But Lance Henriksen, man, and Billy, their scenes together, the way that they touched, the way that they talked, that was his world. And when that boy, that whole space, when that boy died in his arms, and how mortified Ed was from the time he found Billy until he died in his arms at the house, it just makes me cry every time that I see it, because that's how fantastic Lance Henriksen's performance in this movie was. And so, yeah, it does hold that distinction of all of the horrible things that happened to the people, like Jim in Revenge. I felt horrible for all the stuff that happens to these people that turn them into angels of vengeance. But the only one that makes me cry is Pumpkinhead. The trigger in Pumpkinhead is the only one that makes me cry. So that's Pumpkinhead, 1988. I absolutely adore it. It is just a masterpiece, a classic masterpiece, 10 out of 10. I love having the Scream Factory remaster, which looks beautiful on Blu-ray. And I will see you in the next one. Love you, miss you. Bye-bye. Tell me what you think of Pumpkinhead in the comments below. Like, share, whatever you want to do. I really do thank you for stopping by and taking any time out of your busy schedule and all of the other people and places to just listen for a few minutes and tell me what you think. So yeah, love you, miss you. Bye-bye. Always remember, never forget, you are a wonderfully, intensely, very, very special person. And don't ever let anyone ever tell you different, even if you are not an Appalachian demon vengeance demon. An Appalachian demon. I started to do it again. An Appalachian vengeance demon. Oh, I love bloopers. I can't do a video without bloopers. It's almost like my brain goes, you know what? You just filmed for 30 minutes and you didn't do a blooper. You didn't have a blooper. Let's fix that. Bye.